A few months ago, I dropped an anime game video, and that's how I found out that Bleach Rebirth of Souls was dropping on March 20th of 2025. Obviously, time has passed since then, and I'm talking about it for an entire video. But at the time, I was almost sure I would not buy it, or even hear any positive buzz around it. I am so happy to have been wrong. See, I have a lot to talk about, and I'm not going to spoil very much because I don't think I need many spoilers in order to express just how happy this game makes me. To cut it short, if you love the anime, buy this game. If you don't know the anime or manga, buy this game so that you can fall in love with it just like I have. So long as you like abridged stories with genuinely addictive 3D action combat, there's nothing about this that you can go wrong with. Before I start explaining too much, I gotta wax poetic about just how much Bleach has meant to me. See, when I was in 7th grade, I ended up moving to the suburbs, and I had 0 friends, because I was a city kid beforehand. The first person I ever really talked with was actually a kid who was on my bus. His name is Jared, shout out to you, and him and his little sourdough toast were the best parts of my days for quite a while, because we'd talk about Soul Eater, we'd talk about the Xbox, and he introduced me to Bleach. See, I didn't know anything about anime really beforehand, because all I had really seen was Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and maybe a little bit of Sailor Moon, but none of them at the time were as addictive to me as Bleach ended up being. He talked about it all the time, and I believe his old iPhone 4's background was actually a hollow Ichigo mask. The more he talked about it, the more I seemed like I needed to be a part of it. So I went to the disc replay that I one day ended up working at, and they had this massive wall of anime DVDs, like tons and tons of anime DVDs, and they were all $10 or less at that point. So I picked up the Substitute arc. I absolutely loved the cover even to this day. And I popped it into my Xbox 360 I had just freshly bought that December. And after just one episode, I was absolutely hooked. From then on, I went to watch tons and tons of other shows, and my addiction for anime started right then and there. In that other anime video, I did do a little breakdown of why I even draw, because if you don't know, I'm actually an art instructor, and I do a ton of other things with my fine art degree, but I started drawing purely because of how much I love the art of Bleach. Specifically in the omnibuses of volume 9, 10, and 11, if I remember right. I nearly split that thing in half with how much I held the pages open and slammed it around because I was drawing almost every single panel as accurately as I could. One of the very first things I ever drew that made me feel like I could do something with this skill was actually a white reverse hollow Ichigo. I could go on and on about why I love Bleach so much, but in theory, I've only watched up to season 5. Part of that is because it was harder to come by and I wasn't able to just order things online at the ripe age of 13 or 14. And part of it was because after season 4, I didn't think it was very good, having no idea that season 4 is all filler. Anyhow, at the time, I bought a Wii, which I know I'm a very late bloomer, I didn't have a Wii until about 2012, but I immediately went back to that disc replay and got a copy of Bleach Shattered Blade, a 2006 Sega and Polygon Magic game with stupid controls but a robust 32-character cast. Of course, I also have Bleach Soul Resurrection, the 2011 PS3 Dynasty Warriors ripoff. I don't have many good things to say about that game because the button mapping is really weird, but I do think that the song, specifically in the Japanese version, is by Sid, and it's called Ranbu no Melody, which actually became the anime's 13th opening, which I have listened to maybe 5,000 times. In all honesty, I probably haven't spent very long with those games, so I might end up going back to them for a future video. Now let's get into why Rebirth of Souls is so fantastic. The story mode includes 4 chapters, or seasons 1 to 3, little bits of 4, and most of 5, in the anime seasons. The very first chapter, the Substitute arc, which is supposed to set up basically everything with the show, is the most rushed out of all of the chapters. I know that they figure most people have seen at least the beginning of Bleach, but I don't really know why you would think that, given that the show came out in the very early 2000s, and the newest addition to the Bleach lore is the 1,000 Year Blood War, which only came out like a couple years ago now. So if anything, they should be entirely slowing it down so that you get to know the characters, because sometimes I felt like there were moments that were just very hard cuts and then something was randomly happening. Because the budget is a little off, the animation is very stiff and kind of generic. At first, I was critical of it since I know how good the Studio Pro animation is. And here's a really good example.
The evil spirits who attack other souls. This is my current mission.
Hang on. If that's your mission, you mean there's a hollow around here right now?
Second kind are evil spirits known as hollows. The hollows attack people living or dead in order to devour their souls. Any questions before I go on?
First of all, why do your drawings suck so bad?
You'll pay for this!
There are also times where a character is supposed to be holding an object, but of course it cuts above them, so it's a really awkward upward angle at their jaw instead of the magazine or whatever they're supposed to be holding. I know that that's a budget thing because this is like 60% visual novel, and that's okay given how many original voices from the star-studded English cast returns.
You stay here and watch me as I kick this stupid guy's butt, okay?
Johnny Young Bosch almost sounds better than he ever has, and some of the new voices sound like they fit perfectly in. It was a blast from the past for real, because before Bleach, I really didn't know that voice acting in an anime, let alone a video game, could ever be as good as it is. In fact, Yororichi's voice, the amazing Wendy Lee, who is also Faye in Bebop, is gonna be at an anime convention that's somewhat near me. I am totally having her sign my cover art. I think that would be so awesome. With that being said, you can listen to the Japanese dub as well. But then you'd be missing Michelle Ruff, and I don't know if that's worth it. You know, out of all the visual and weird quirks, I cannot find a single complaint in my body about how beautiful some of the background art and the models are. The models really look the best that they have ever looked outside of the anime. And let's be honest, even the anime looks a little dated, but these models shine in a way that doesn't look fake, and their hair is like the perfect sheen, and the cel-shaded graphics are just enough to not make it over the top and slightly realistic. It is so gorgeous. I also have to give a major shout out to the cutscenes in between chapters every once in a while. They are literally insane. The graphic design in this game as a whole is just absolutely superb. It almost is as good as like a modern Persona with how just stylized and beautifully thought out all of these graphics are. P.S. If you really like the look of these graphics, you can go on the Bleach Rebirth of Souls website, the Bandai Namco one, and you can download wallpapers of each character in the game, on your phone and on your PC. I don't know if many of you know this, but Shiro Sagasu, the Evangelion composer, also composed a lot of the Bleach soundtrack, even up to the 1,000 Year Blood War. Music in this game doesn't seem like it's composed by him. A lot of it almost feels like an Initial D soundtrack. It's very techno and very fast-paced, in a way that his stuff was not. I actually really like it, but I do think it's a little bit odd, although I can appreciate it since it is more modern. From the very first time you put in the disc, you have 30 characters to choose from. There is a season pass you can buy that's going to drop 4 more playable characters, but I think I'm good with what they have. And it's not all going to release until March of 2026. Because there's so much content in the base game, we're talking 20 plus hours of just story. On top of offline and online versus, training, and missions mode, you don't need more. It's just incredible how much content is in this game. And I know it's $60, so it is a lot of money, especially for an anime game, but think about how much replayability is in that $60. It's wild. Every character is very individual in move types and animation, while using a simple to catch onto button layout. Without using the fancy terms that will confuse you, Yourself and the opponent have multiple health bars, and sometimes a guard will be up that you must break before dealing damage. The game has a very short tutorial, but I suggest skipping it and doing both the simple and advanced tutorials on the main menu, because it's all explained better there. When you whittle away a health bar and get into the red, you can hold R2 when the screen says now or never to unleash a unique super. Or, the better option, go past red, break their soul for 1 bar, then hold R2 to break more health bars. Usually when your health is high, you hit less hard and take more bars away. But either through plot or by activating it at half health, L3 and R3 release your Bankai or Awakened powers, killing the enemy's bar much faster. Easy combos with weak hits can be good, but spice it up with hard hits and even signature moves, the latter mapped to the circle button. Rebirth is obsessed with calling back to its source material, which I love, and there are challenges in each stage that grant you more money for helpful attachments, like a better percentage of defense, to more complicated items like one-time use damage dealers which work for a short period of time. Some challenges are simple, like not getting a health bar chopped or doing a signature move. But more interesting, and therefore harder to get, are real moments. These are cues for you to end the fight with hard-to-land moves or quick parries that happened in the show. And you unlock a unique cutscene you would not get otherwise. This adds to the completionist journey, because there's even a secret story cutscene museum to collect them all in. Speaking of collectibles, every time you do a little achievement in the game, like get a certain amount of soul points or win a certain amount of missions, you get a little museum of icons, and online you get different badges and icons and titles to put as your self-promotion, as they say. Going back to the combat, dodging either by holding L1, physically moving side to side, or L2 plus X to warp behind an enemy are essential tools of the trade. Learning patterns is a major boon to playing better, and R2 will knock enemies away once they open themselves up. Like Ryu in Street Fighter, Ichigo is very beginner-friendly, rewarding frontal assaults and brash movements. Uryu and Rukia play best from afar before smacking them from behind. The other Soul Reapers have their ups and downs as well, but they're so easy to learn, making no character unapproachable for a beginner. While I did not play online or offline in a versus match, Missions mode was a blast to practice combos in, from 1 star to 3 stars. Each one unlocks as you progress through the story. Missions act as a boss rush. You have to stay on your toes since lost health does not regenerate between rounds, and these jerks can lock you into a 15-hit combo plus snatch 3 health bars from you easily. And tip for the achievement hunters out there who want the 20-hit combo trophy, play as Yoruichi. So that brings me to parrying and reversing. Parries are very tough to pull off, with few hints as to when to hit a button to execute. Characters like Renji and Urahara actually have parry-based moves, but there's also a stick move you can do by holding R1. This has you flying up to the enemy and juking them before smacking them in the head. If they have a guard bar, this does not work, but it helps to break the distance and get quick hits in more often than not. With L2 plus square, you reverse, pushing the enemy back and giving you some harder hits for a few seconds. Alright, that was a lot, but I promise you it feels very simple and rewarding. This is coming from someone who loves fighting games, but definitely struggles to nail it when under pressure since there are just too many mechanics in most of these games now. You know, I really expected to only play the game for a few hours, probably dropping off and being disappointed. And in the 30 hours I played it so far, with more to come, I haven't been bored once. That's huge praise. Bandai Namco is not a company I felt knocked it out of the park in past generations. But with this, Captain Tsubasa, DBZ Kakarot, Elden Ring, they are publishing fire and giving games a proper budget in development and in advertising. I'm so happy people can experience Bleach like this. It truly is the best game based on that property. I also have to shout out Tamsoft, the developers of Rebirth, Captain Tsubasa, Onichan Bara, and apparently a Gintama game I've never heard of. The anime game Iceberg just keeps getting deeper and deeper. Again, Rebirth has invigorated my interest not just in Bleach games like the Japan-only ones, but also to seek out some of the anime I never saw, like the newer Thousand Year Blood War. So if you couldn't tell, I absolutely love this game, and I would recommend it to anyone who's interested. Best luck out there.